Find an efficacious COVID-19 vaccine. The novel coronavirus, severe acute respiratory syndrome of coronavirus 2, has caused more than 1 million deaths in the first 6 months of pandemic and huge economic and social upheaval internationally. An efficacious vaccine is essential to prevent further spread or safety and immunogenetic data alone. The goal of vaccine development is to gain direct evidence of vaccine efficacy in protecting humans against SARS-CoV-2 infection of COVID-19 so the manufacture of efficacious vaccines can be selected of scale. Defining vaccine efficacy. Many different endpoints are used in vaccine research to define efficacy depending on the pathogen, consequences of infection, and transmission dynamics. In the case of SARS-CoV-2, an efficacious vaccine might prevent infection, disease, or transmission. The study design of SARS-CoV-2 vaccine efficacy trials. Efficacy studies should be adequately powered to meet efficacy endpoints, and multiple variables inform the calculations, including local transmission rates and participant characteristics. Dedicated trials will be needed to assess COVID-19 vaccines in individuals younger than 18 years old, as trial data in adults might not be predictive of vaccine safety and efficacy in this age group. Endpoints. To allow comparisons of efficacy between vaccine candidates and within different populations, it is essential to standardize quantifiable endpoints are applied routinely to clinical trials of COVID-19 vaccines, and their limitations and potential for bias are understood. An efficacious COVID-19 vaccine could reduce the severity of disease resulting from SARS-CoV-2 infection. The surrogate endpoints. If an immunological correlate of protection is known, then the protect efficacy of a vaccine can be assessed by measuring the proportion of vaccines who generate a particular immune response without having to measure clinical outcomes. The SARS-CoV-2 vaccine would most likely depend on the characteristics of the vaccine, including antigen structure, method of delivery, and antigen processing and presentation in vaccines. If a SARS-CoV-2 vaccines were to show efficacy, a priority would be to identify an in vitro correlate or surrogate of protection. And in conclusion, the capacity to measure vaccine efficacy in field studies is reliant on ongoing SARS-CoV-2 transmission, which is right at odds with public health interventions. In the absence of the surrogate protections, the trials might provide the only means of rapidly assessing vaccine efficacy, and it's probable that any evidence for efficacy against severe disease and mortality in populations that are in risk